so you understand sort of as a small charity what it is we aim to achieve. So if I hand you over to Leslie, and he'll talk a little bit about that. Yes,
good morning, my name is Leslie Billy. I'm the Chief Executive of Viewpoint. We are a small charity based in Hertfordshire, supporting people with mental health and substance misuse issues to have a voice around the commissioning processes, delivery of services, design of services. We also support our service users to deliver training to professionals or to other people experiencing mental health or substance misuse issues. And we run a number of courses across Hertfordshire. We are a Hertfordshire-based charity, and our work centres around engaging with service users within that are part of services being delivered across Hertfordshire. As you can see, I find doing a webinar quite nerve-wracking, so you'll have to forgive me. But I think what's really important is the telling of our story and giving a narrative that's powerful and has an impact, both in the context of other services across Hertfordshire, but more importantly to our commissioners that are commissioning a service from us. And some will go on and talk more in a more detailed way about how we've gone about that. But we've always struggled as a small charity to give that message across, to give the impact that we know happens in terms of people that are part of our service delivery. And what Salesforce has done, and we've called it DORA, has done for us is it's allowed us to start to paint a really powerful picture about the difference our services makes, both to service users, but also to service providers and to commissioners. And I think that that's the value of using Salesforce for us. It is really difficult often because we're not a service provider in the traditional way. It's really difficult to measure and work on the difference that giving somebody a voice that has influence, and that influence helps to change services. It's really difficult to measure that. But with the with adding Salesforce DORA to our picture, we've been able to start to do that. We've been able to start to tease out a clearer narrative about the outcomes that we're achieving across the county. I think at this point, it would be helpful for me to pass on to Simon, and he will talk in more detail about our journey, which wasn't an easy one, how we've engaged our staff team and our members in the development of DORA, and where we're at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Lovely. Right. So Leslie said we'll sort of talk you through a little bit of the journey we took to get here. It was fun at times, but it was definitely worth it. I'm just going to pop a webcam on because it's much easier, I think, to connect with people when you can see them. There we go. I assume you can see me now. There we go, lovely. And I put the banner up, and I'm not going to waste that. So I'll put our banner up, Viewpoint. Right. You'll see on our screen, we called our Salesforce instance DORA. We did this because having a name of something makes it a lot easier to connect with it. And DORA stands for Data Overseer and Real-Time Analysis. It sounds silly, but it makes a bit of a difference in the office when you're talking about your new database and how you have to input everything into it, and you're using a nice silly name. I'll start off with our challenges. Let me just close that so I can see. Okay, so why did we need a CRM in the first place? Well, I think that a lot of people will kind of echo some of these issues that we had. We were finding it increasingly hard to record and monitor our activity in accordance with our commissioning contracts. We found that the commissioning contracts changed quite quickly as far as the outcome measurement. It would be whenever there was a new policy maybe coming in at the local council, maybe a new commissioning manager, suddenly we would need to be recording our data in a slightly different way. And for a very small organisation, it can be quite a challenge to keep up to date with that. When you don't have dedicated IT, it can be tricky to make sure that you record the appropriate data at the appropriate time, really. And we found it difficult. It was taking us away from our front line, and we know we were missing stuff. We know we weren't recording really everything that we should have been recording because as you often do, you focus on your members and feel that that's the most important thing, though unfortunately, if you can't prove it, then you'll find you won't be around for too long. We found it difficult to showcase what Viewpoint did. We think, like a lot of you will, that you probably do a lot of good stuff. Sometimes that's a bit difficult to show other people. So as Leslie said, a lot of what we deal in is the views and the experiences of our members, and those are then inputted into various meetings, projects, things like that, and hopefully they will influence the outcome. Now that can be difficult when you're having a conversation and hearing somebody's story. To be able to record that and note an impact can be quite a challenge. As he mentioned, if you run, say on our training side, if we run a course, 10 people go through it and 8 people found it better, that's a lot easier for us to report on. So we found it difficult to showcase some of the stuff we did, and we needed a better system for that. We felt that we could get more impact from the views and experiences. So a lot of the time we're having conversations with people, and it may affect our thinking internally, and we may report it to various meetings, but we probably weren't adding it up. So we weren't looking that within the district of Watford, 6 people were saying that there was a problem with acute, but 30 people were saying there was a problem with personal budgets. So we wanted something that was able to record that and to analyse it a lot better and a lot quicker. Our ideal goal was for one of us to go to a meeting and to be able to print out our reports just before, or even at the meeting on a handheld phone or computer, run through a couple of filters and actually get some live information that we could pass and use at that meeting. So that's one of our aspirations, which we're nearly at. I think we need to do a little bit of work on our report writing, but we're getting there. And as mentioned, a constant change of commissioning managers meant it took time to rebuild the relationship. We're sometimes an unusual organisation, and we take a bit of time to get used to. We came out of a user-led group very much run by service users, and that has always been our focus, and our project was relatively stable as far as funding. So over the years there's been a lot of changing on the commissioning side, and it takes us a bit of time to get to know the managers, for the managers to get to know us and how we work, and that can be tricky when you don't have a large amount of data to hand to them to show and prove what it is you're doing, and you're relying instead on building that relationship quite quickly. That can be a bit of a challenge. So we found that what Dora does for us is provide a good starting point to kind of speed up that system and that process. Our situation, again, I'm sure a lot of you might be nodding at this point. Funding pressures and short-term contracts. We have had reduction in funding, like many people have, and contracts always feel very short. And when you have that, it's very difficult for long-term planning, and even more so when you're looking at IT projects. You find that if you don't look long-term about them and be prepared to invest in something that will work for the future, then very quickly they go out of date. And even it can be difficult to convince people that you can spend a proportion of your budget on something to do with IT. We have, as we see there, we have a very small staff team. There's 6 of us without specific IT skills. So we all can switch computer on and off again, and everything else we have really learned as we go along. So we probably would be a bit worried at building something extremely complex without having the particular skills in-house, and without being able to afford a sort of ongoing specialist post for it. So any solution that we were looking for would need to be able to upskill the staff on the in of the organisation and to be able to sell. We'll be like, again, a lot of other organisations that prefer to try and have the skills in-house if they can, so they don't pay for it. We had organically grown processes, and I used some nice words there, but what that means is we've got a bunch of old staff. So I've been around for 15 years. Most of my colleagues have been around for over 10 years. And we've grown to do things how we like to do them. So that led to the inconsistencies in data collection. I think we know we needed to try and get some more consistency in how we do things, how we record, so we could output as best as possible. This system, it also gave us, it's not just putting in a new system, it's about taking an opportunity to have a look at your processes and to kind of some new ones that work well for everybody, and it helps you move with the times, really helps you get up to date. And we had limited dynamic monitoring. So by this I mean, if Leslie asked me a question, I'd find I'd need to spend a bit too much time researching it, because it might be on my email, it may be in files, it may be in notebooks, things like that. And to pull that all together and to be able to give him a decent answer took time, even more so when he would then ask a follow-up question, because that meant I had to go back. We find with Dora, with our new system, we're able to filter and adjust what we want to do a lot quicker question with the follow-up, and I'm able to create reports or have a look and find those answers much quicker. Any issues that you may have, or as I say, for us, going to a meeting and to be able to get that data nice and quick, nice and useful tool. Little bit about, he's mentioned it, but it's always nice to mention the good bits, especially of our bits about us. As I said, we've been around for over 15 years. Most of the staff have been here for a long time, and we out of a project by local mine associations, and it's very much user-led. Over 800 members. A lot of those, again, have been around for a very, very long time. We find services for people with mental health and drug and alcohol problems are changing constantly, and they're finding difficulties in accessing things. Viewpoint being there for people is, for us, a really positive thing. We like it that we've got people engaged with us for 15 years even, and they stick with us and support us. We do pride ourselves user-led. It's really important. It's what we're all about. The views of our members and really everything we do every day. And we value every conversation with our members, and this is quite unique for the database. This is one thing that we spoke to Economic Change about what we did. We were saying that having a conversation, it didn't just have the value of logging that a call had happened. The conversation we have with our people, information for our main business of user involvement, experience and views. So we wanted to make sure that all our calls, all our contacts were actually central to our database, and we could get a lot of information from those as well. I'd say we have a great reputation. Again, we focus on our members, and we try and make sure that principals they should be involved in everything in a significant way, and rather than involvement, you've probably heard co-production is the fancy word at the moment, but it's basically respecting people and their views and experiences. We support and empower the members, so we have our members, volunteers, trainers, staff and trustees. All of them involve service users, so they're staff who are service users, trustees. We try and get people to deliver our training rather than us as staff members, because it's much, much better. And hopefully our members trust us. For them to stick around that long in difficult situations, we feel that there's an aspect, and we do feel we get a lot of support.
Thanks, Simon. We might need to turn the webcam off because it's falling slightly.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, it's lovely to see you, but I'm just wondering if it's affecting the quality.
No, that's fine. It's in the banner, so I'm happy now.
Cheers, thanks.
Here we go. Right. This, I think, was probably our initial response when we found out about CRM, or my response. I was Leslie found out about this first, and I had a little look at Salesforce, and I was a bit skeptical and probably got a bit grumpy and said, no, I don't like it. But that's because I didn't really give it time to have a think and to find out what it could do. We know they exist, but we're too small for that. Small charities, we can sometimes just say, oh, no, not for us, we're too small. We have our way of doing things, and I don't want to change it. We're going to keep it like the way we do because it's local. That sometimes is true, but also it can really damage and miss opportunities. And we probably had a few months gap from when we first found out about Salesforce to actually going anywhere, because as I say, I think I took that particular view. I'm not too sure on whether this will work for us. We don't have the IT skills. It's not as IT heavy as you think it is. I find Excel more challenging than Salesforce. There are lots of online support which we'll go into on trailheads for you to learn what to do. So to have the IT skills to do this, you're not really talking about that much, and it's stuff that you can learn as well. So I don't think you should see that as a barrier to using Salesforce. It's about sales. We don't do sales. It's not about sales. It took me a little bit of time to understand how the different objects or the different parts of the Salesforce system could relate to what we do. And again, the customization, how that could make changes and make adjustments to what we do. So it's just really thinking of different words. For us, the products that we sell are the conversations we have with people, the events and campaigns, the forums, things like that. So it's quite easy in the end to make a link between what the system initially says and what you do. And you can make lots of changes to the words as well. So, you know, you can make it more comfortable to people. And when it comes down to it, it's about that relationship between the client and you, and the recording of what you're doing, and the ability to be able to output that in a dynamic way so that you can see what's going on and you can prove it. That means money, not that much. And any money you spend is worth investing. We would definitely say that. And we always get worried about putting out a chunk of money into a system around IT, or some of us do, I guess. But for us, it was very much worth it. Prices, I'm not selling here, but the prices here, economic change, were very competitive. And obviously, being a social enterprise itself, there's the benefits of where your money is going. And it definitely made it achievable to us. We looked around a couple of other places and we'd had quotes that were not achievable for us. And this was something that came in, it was most certainly acceptable. And we liked the idea and the theory of economic change, which so one of the reasons I think that we went for it. But the money, the investment definitely comes back to you. When you find the amount of time that you are saving when it comes to reporting, that's fantastic. And it also improves the relationship and what you can do. So we've definitely found we have more capacity by using this system, and therefore, you know, capacity and time means money. So the investment has been worth it. Yes, before people run away. These are some of the other reasons why Salesforce is good. The main one, and we will talk about this, the non-profit success pack. This is something that Salesforce itself has developed and is available on the App Exchange. And this makes a big difference for non-profit organizations. So it adds in a lot of aspects of your, I guess, that your service could use that are beneficial. Donations and volunteer management, two of the key ones that are added, as well as households. So with the donation side of things, you can handle all the money aspects from the fundraising that you're doing, from the contracts and the budgets that you do. You can manage where you're at, you can record against them, you can do budget allocations with it. So there's some really positive sides with the donations. And again, you start to know where your money is, you start to know what money you are expecting. And that's one of our worries, is always how much money will we have next year, how do we get through it? And through this system, you can start to predict what your donations will be, what your incomes will be, and help you plan better. You can also link it to various marketing campaigns that you can do, so you can see how things are successful, whether they work, find the best way of doing it, see who responded, all that kind of thing is really good. On the volunteer management, this is a relatively new bit to me, because at the moment we don't use this aspect of the package, but that's fine. It's sitting there and available for us whenever we look to develop it. But this looks, for me, this part looks fascinating. So you can record all the volunteers that you have, all the skills that they have, the availability that they have. You then have the chance to search through those to fill certain shifts that you would set up. So rather than the nightmare of ringing around and checking and see who can do what and going through files to find who might be available, you can use the system to help do those searches for you, to help register those people. And then you can see how they progress along that kind of, I guess, a mentoring way. So that's a really interesting side of the non-profit success pack. One part that we do use is the household. And what this enables is, it enables you to have various members within the same household. And that can include, let's say you have a family, mum, dad, and one child, and then the child goes away to university, but they still want to be linked with your organization. Well, then you can generate a separate address for that person, yet still link them to the family. So you can look at people either on the individual level, or you can as I say, do it as a household and family and see how much that family may be contributing or involved with your organisation. The first 10 licenses are free. This is what I think is the enterprise edition that they're free for. That for us, that covers us. We have, as I say, 6 staff members. So our current ongoing costs for Salesforce are nil. And that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. I mean, you can add various add-ons, and obviously if you wanted support, that's a really, that can be a really important thing to do. But simply your basic cost of owning and using the system, you have your first 10 licenses free, and subsequent ones are very much discounted. Salesforce is very dedicated to the non-profit sector. They really want to see the system used within that sector, and I would say it's definitely focused to providing for us. Finally, it is customizable to a ridiculous level. We were asking for things that were quite out of the box. We wanted our own section about our outcomes, and it was, you can just build it. You can just build it and make the links. I'm myself am part of a course learning to be a Salesforce admin. It's the Supermums course that Economic Change run, and that has given me some more skills to be able to learn how to build some of these apps. You basically grab fields, you can add fields, you can adjust what they do, you can make links, you can adjust your reporting. Really don't think that this system can't fit with what you do, because I feel that there's so many changes that you can make. It definitely has the ability to do that. How to start. So this is, again, how you go about the process. It seems like a big thing to do, and we had a couple of false starts, as I say, before we engaged with Economic Change. But we wouldn't be where we are without them. They helped us, I think, on the business planning as well, the kind of agile method that is used to see what your budget is, what you're able to pay for, to see what bits you want to develop and which bits you would like to develop. That's definitely an important thing to look at, and to help us to stop and look at our business. I think we were quite busy, we were quite blinkered looking at what we do and not stepping back as much as we should have to see whether what we do is the best way of doing it, and whether we can change some of those processes. So the first part is you really want to do it as a team. So you'll see on the Salesforce trailheads, there's a couple of modules that help support you on the implementation of Salesforce. And one of the key things they talk about is make sure you do it as a team, and make sure you have that sponsorship at all levels. So you'll need a trustee to be in on it, because if you don't get that board sign up, it's going to be difficult to implement. And then through management and frontline as well, you want key players who you can have. I think the phrase at the moment is evangelists. So, people who will talk about Salesforce, who will be there to support it, who will be there to help answer any questions. So you need key people across all levels, but you do it as a team because you want everyone to be able to influence it. They will come up, as people within your organization will have some ideas where things could be changed, how it could be improved, and you really want to use this opportunity to do those changes. So they also are going to be using it in the future. So all our staff use Salesforce now. And it's really important that they feel part of it for them to want to use it. Otherwise, it's just a system chucked on people that they have to go on and do. So it's really key, make sure people are part of it and part of that development. So when you're sitting down and looking at it. Second point, sit down and think about what you want to achieve, what information or reports. So yeah, what do I want at the end of it? What do I want in my hand on that, or or my computer screen to be able to look at and to be able to think about? So for us, we wanted to be able to have a summary of the conversations that we had been having, picking out various key themes. We wanted to be aware of the demographics of our members across all areas. We wanted to split down views to different areas as well, so we could see whether there was people having particular issues in certain areas, and then we could print out and look further into that. We wanted to keep an eye on the conversations we were having with our members. So we know that some people engage with us much more, and some people will speak to us every so often. We wanted to have a better understanding of who that was, and that would enable us to, on the marketing side, to be able to respond to them in a better way, to maybe ask them, say, are you okay? What's it we're doing that you know, makes you feel you don't want to be so linked in with us? So it's good to have that kind of data and look at the history of the interactions between you and the members. Another part of what we do is we run local forums. So we took over what's called the campaign tab, and we run our forums and our events in there. And with that, we can have a good understanding of who came along to what, who we asked and who didn't respond. And you can roll up, so you can have various themes that you're doing, and you can look across, you know, a longer time period about what's happening within that area and the events that are going on in that area. So it was, yeah, that's the kind of thing that we wanted. But you really want to sit down and look at that kind of stuff. What information do you want? Look at your processes and what you need to complete them. By that I mean, what barriers are there that are stopping something? So our team is relatively part-time as far as they're in and out the office, work particular hours, and yes, you can use emails to converse and say, oh, I spoke to so-and-so about this and about that, but you can also, on Salesforce, all that information can just be kept within the system, so somebody can go back and they can get the context and the history of the conversations that were going on. And that, I guess it could be kind of a barrier. If we weren't able to communicate, if we were communicating across 2 or 3 different systems, then you might miss something or you might forget about it, so I didn't get that message. So this kind of keeps it central, and that helped us have more of a history on our conversations with our members. And look at the I wish statements as well. So as I say, one of our I wish statements was having the ability to filter reports while we're in a meeting and come up with various answers, or come up with various conversations we had and feed that into the meeting. If they're talking about acute beds, Leslie will want to know whether I've spoken to people recently, and he can pull that up on his phone and say, well, actually, Simon had a conversation with so-and-so last week, and this is the kind of thing that they said. That makes it easier for people to use information in a positive way. Last one, work out your needs and wants. We had a couple of times when we were going through the planning stages with economic change, I think we liked some sparkly features. So you can follow the Twitter accounts of various members. And that sounds like fun. That would be interesting to see. But it was probably more want for us rather than a need. So we had to challenge ourselves to make sure we were good at identifying the things that were essential for our system and those things that we would maybe like to have. And the benefit is that we are probably close to a stage where we could add a lot of those wants now ourselves. Again, through learning and through teaching via Trailhead, you're able to adjust the system and add on any extras that you want to do. You can always ask for extra support if you feel that's what you want to do, but there is an opportunity for you to add on some extras yourself. We've done multiple tweaks to our database, so you know, just to make some fine adjustments to various bits that we would like to have. Data, the actual data part of it. A lot of people might be coming from an Excel document, an Access document, something like that, which you keep most of your information on. Ours was probably a bit incomplete and probably a bit out of date, some of it. So we did have to spend some time on cleaning that up, and it really is a key part of moving onto the system. If you clean up that data well, then it will make things so much easier. There are still opportunities once the data is in for you to find out where there are problems. There's a couple of sort of data validation apps on the App Exchange which look at the various fields that you have filled in and can identify problem areas. So you could say, for example, mobile phone numbers are not filled in as much as I want. So you run a report, you find out who it is, and then you can follow that up and clean up the data when it's online. But it's always good to try and do that before, because that's where you find your duplicates, that's where you find your mistypes, all that kind of stuff. And it's just nicer when you get clean data and you put it in and you've mapped it properly from your old system to your new system. Trailheads, I cannot stress how useful trailheads are. This is the free training that's provided by Salesforce. So you simply go to Trailheads. You probably just Google Trailheads and Salesforce and it will come up. Go there and you can learn about how to use the system. And it's not just kind of a manual style. I mean, I'm not very good at learning from manuals, learning in that way. I need to get my hands dirty, get into it and try the system and sort of make a few mistakes. So with the Trailheads, there's quite a lot of modules where you log on to what they call a playground and you mess around with it and you try it and you adjust the system and you see the changes. You can also get a developer, a developer instance, which is basically a version of Salesforce. You can get one of those for free. So most admins will have a developer edition where they just go on and then they can mess around as much as they want, change things and have some fun without affecting your real data. So go on to Trailheads. It's also good as well, you know, try and see how many badges you can get. I'm just one badge away from 50, which is for my next snazzy level. And these things you can get quite addicted to. And it tells you a lot about, I guess, every aspect of Salesforce. There's things called trailheads, sorry, not trailheads, trail mixes, which are modules put together by other people to take you through a particular story. So you go on there and you'll have 7-8 hours of learning for a non-profit success pack. That's a really good way of learning what the system can do. Anyone can do it, as I say, so I would go there. And I've just reiterated, go to it and do some more. It is good. Keep working as a team so everyone is up to date and progressing. You will always have some people who are more interested than others. So you do want to make sure that you keep sticking together as a team so everybody knows where you're at. You want to be able to also come up with ideas. You know, this is a positive system that you can be using rather than something that you have to do. So it's just keeping everybody as part of it. Right, sorry. Launching it. You've got to give it a go sometime, so try and make it a fun event. Just donuts, any excuse for donuts and tea, we know that. So make it a bit of a fun event and a positive vibe. And it also shows that the system is part of your core business, not just an add-on, because what you don't want is your Salesforce database to exist. You carry on as you are as normal, then think, oh, I've got to go and do something on Salesforce. You want it to be part of it. So for us, it's our home screen. As soon as we get in the morning, the first screen that logs on is to our Salesforce. It makes it easy. If I get a phone conversation, I can have the phone, I could be typing straight away, and I could be recording it. So make it a fun event. It keeps people involved and it stops it being an extra. You'll find out that Chatter is, I don't know, I'd say Facebook for Salesforce, but internally within your organization. So you can have conversations about anything on there. You can have conversation linked to records, so that's to people or to events or to whatever it is you choose to record, really. And you can go back and forth about that that record, and really interact a lot better. And it adds that history, as we said there, the history and the context. So if I get a call from Fred and Fred's not feeling too well, I'd want to record that on there. So next time Fred calls, I haven't seen my colleague, but as soon as they log on to Fred, they see the conversations that I've been having. Or I may speak to Fred and my colleague gets on very well with them. So I may on Chatter say, at this person, do you mind giving Fred a call because he's not doing too well at the moment? And it's just a good way of keeping that context and doing the feedback. And make the tweaks where needed. It's really easy. To be honest, I try and keep Dora on the agenda in our staff meeting, and I can quite often make little tweaks. Let's say Leslie thinks, I don't like that title that we're using to record one of our bits of data. Could we change it to this? We have a brief discussion. I log on, I change it there, and it's done within about 2-3 minutes. And then when the staff meeting is finished, you're already up to date with the new change. You have sandboxes. As part of the system, you get free sandboxes. I think you get one partial sandbox, which takes your whole database and about half of your members or a portion of your members. And it lets you make lots and lots of changes, mess around with it, and not break the main system. So really recommend using that if you're doing significant things. And then you've got about 30 developer ones, which are purely the system on itself. So again, you have lots of opportunities just to try things out and not mess with your main data. And then when you feel happy, you can sort of run that through to the main system, double check it's working okay. If not, you can pull it back and do it that way. Keep it on your agenda, as I say. I know staff meetings can be a challenge, but you know, that doesn't even mean that it has to be, the time has to be filled. You can always finish your meeting a little bit early, but keep it on there because some people may have problems and they may have suggestions. We are looking to develop our training side. So I think, as I mentioned, the volunteer part of the non-profit support pack we haven't really used. But we're looking to, I think, exploit that with our trainers, and we will have the trainers linked on. We'll be able to match them with various training requests that we are having. So that's something that we chat about in the staff meeting, and then I will go back and have a look at the system, how I may build that, and you know, sort of run it through with people and see where we go. The online Salesforce forums, they are brilliant. You have thousands, tens of thousands of people around the world on these forums who are more than happy to offer support. What Salesforce has done well, it's got people MVPs, so it encourages other administrators to support the rest of the community, and they're very good at it. So I've had a few times where I've thought I've had very, very stupid questions to ask, but on these forums, they're not stupid at all. They will give you advice, they will add the pictures, they will add links to useful stuff. Nobody comes back and say, why didn't you search first? You know, the answer is already there because they understand that some of us are quite new to the system. It's very supportive, so please get onto the online forums. I'd recommend looking at the reporting options. Again, you don't really realize what you can get out of the system. So we've been messing around a little bit with our reports, just trying out a few new ones to see what kind of different filters we could use. You can match various objects with other ones. So as I say, campaigns with people, campaigns with outcomes, and just mess around with them. You can go down to, for us, you can go to gender, demographics, age, service user, carer, professional, and you can start to look at that information and pull out areas where you could improve on or things that you didn't really realize. It doesn't mean that you have to do a whole new report. You literally will click, select something else, and then select something else and run. And that's how you start to get these new reports coming out. And use the App Exchange. The App Exchange, like Google Store, like the Apple version, I can't remember what that is. But look at the App Exchange. There's a lot of free things that are available to people on there that can improve your business. So another area we're looking at is HR, how we can bring in the HR function of our organization onto this database. So I've been looking around at a couple of apps to be able to do that. There's also a lot of paid options, and they are worth looking at, particularly if they're part of your business. You probably, or you hopefully would have done this on the build, but there's things such as 123 Builder, or you can bring in your accounting side of things. There's some good stuff around connecting your website or your public side part of the database that you may have with the internal side. So the forms that you enter, instead of having a form where people enter information, it comes to you, then you have to go online to enter it. You can just make it seamless. So people enter the information on their particular web page, and that runs directly into your Salesforce. And then off that, you can set various workflows and various tasks. So a new member comes from the Watford area, I could set it up so there's a workflow that then filters down to me as a Watford rep, and it set me up an automatic task to ring the person and say, hi, how are you doing, and introduce myself. There's a lot of workflow things that are useful, so you just don't forget what it is you should be doing, and they can be automatically generated. And that, I believe, is it for the moment.
Great, thanks so much, Simon. You can tell you're an advocate after a year of using Salesforce. So we find, your kind of enthusiasm for the system is very on par with actually what we find with a lot of our clients. Really, I think you know, it's that, I love the picture at the beginning where you said, oh, you know, what is Salesforce and what is CRM, and what are we going to do with it? And you know, it's interesting seeing people's journey, and I suppose, you know, it's where my journey started 8 years ago as well. I was kind of like, what is this? I've never done a database before, and you know, 8 years later, I'm now enthusiastically telling other people and supporting other people kind of adopt the system. So it is, you know, it is an exciting journey to be on, but I think our enthusiasm comes from the heart of what we're doing. We want to help our charity grow and prove its impact, and I think that comes across a lot in your presentation. I'd like to sort of ask people for questions to Simon while we've got him on the line. I've got a question whilst other people are thinking about what they might want to ask here. In terms of training and adoption, Simon, how did you, you know, what did you find was the best approach for training people, particularly? I mean, you've got, you know, your head around it pretty quickly from what you're doing, but you know, have you trained and supported other people and got them to adopt the system and use it sort of every day, if you like, as part of their work? Any particular tips on that?
It is an ongoing process, that's for sure. And what we tried to do is, before the launch, we kept making sure that people were aware of what Salesforce was. I didn't have to. The benefit of something such as a developer account is I didn't have to keep it all quiet to myself. I could get people logged on to the system. I could show them what it looks like. Even the simple things such as showing people what it looks like, how you log on, are a good starter. And training, I think we did it in little bits. So we were aware that when we were aware that there would be a period before people were using it all the time. So we would have kind of key people. It would be myself and it would be Leslie, that would just always be available to chat about how people could use it, how they could input, and we just, I guess, ramped that up. So if I don't know, if a phone call came in and somebody took the phone call, someone would yell across the room, put it on Dora, and just reminders like that it becomes part of the system. And then every so often, in fact, I've got another one today I'm running, we would run a couple of hours dedicated training with staff where we would look at any particular issues that they brought up. They may say, I'm having a problem with tasks, I don't know how to do that side properly. So I'd run a session where I'd spend a bit of time looking at various aspects of our system, and then a bit of time looking at any problems that people would have. So people will be at different times, but I agree with you that that there are some of us that are very much advocates and very enthusiastic about it, but the average person also does fine. I think the rest of probably 2 or 3 of the other staff members are just normal people who think it's all right, but the system works well with them. They're never going to be selling it in the same way I am, but that's okay. They can still work with the system and don't hate it. I think that's hating the system.
No worries, that's great. Anybody got any other questions while they're on the line? You can either put your hand up and I can take you off mute. Yeah, Gareth, you've got a question. Shall I unmute you? Gareth, you're unmuted. Did you have a question? You put your hand up. Oh, sorry, he said that was a mistake. No worries, that's fine. We can unmute you again. No worries. Any other questions? Great, well, you've still got time to answer questions. So I'll just summarise then a few things from what we've been talking about, just really echoing, I think, your presentation was really thorough, obviously, Simon, in terms of where you've been and obviously the journey you've been on. So in terms of, talking about Salesforce for small charities and some of the things here. So Simon mentioned the Nonprofit Success Pack, which gives you an architecture that is off the shelf to some degree. What we find our role is to go through some of those key components of what it offers and tweak it for those organisations and what they're planning to do. I'm just going to change, sorry, my screen's not looking at the right page. Let's see if that's, just jump to the right screen. There we go. So in non-profit success pack, it comes with fundraising out of the box. You've got general communication management, you've got case management, volunteer management, relationship management, reporting, which kind of come out of the box that you can start to use it, but tweak it and customize it to speak your terminology, track your different information that you might collect specific to your organization, and really build on what's there already. And then what Salesforce also offers, because it's a global CRM system, there's lots of plugins that you can add to it. So there's thousands of different apps that integrate with Salesforce from the App Exchange, but also you can build and customize it out, as Simon talked about. So you can build it out to manage your programs and your impact measurement, and start to sort of really build it out and make it your own, and sort of develop it. And Salesforce did a survey with a lot of their clients, which had 500 responses, and these are some of the stats that they started sort of gathering around, you know, people being more efficient, more effective, having faster response time, having improvement in data quality, and faster decision making. I think all these stats really echo and just you know, build on what Salesforce mentioned. And I think all of these are actually more important for small charities. Having sort of started a non-profit myself, you know, you're a one-man band initially, and then you build around it and you have volunteers and you're trying to achieve everything together. So you know, anything that's going to make your life easier is going to be sort of a godsend. But I think the reality also is you're going to go through a learning curve where you're getting your head around things. And I think, you know, you've got to give yourself that first year to adopt it, get used to it, and develop it. And you know, you're going to continue to develop your system. As Simon mentioned, they're now adding HR into their system. And so, but overall, you'll start to see, you know, positive gains and improvements throughout that journey. So don't expect it to change your life in, you know, 2 months. You know, the reality is you'll start the journey and you'll keep moving with it, but over the period of time, you will see an improvement. So the 5 key reasons, just to summarize some of the key sort of messages that Simon kindly brought up in his presentation, is a CRM system, regardless of whether it's Salesforce or not, but it's certainly something Salesforce does well, is track, you know, your client relationships. So you want to track your contact information, your meeting notes, your tasks, your emails and your calls, and make sure that you have all that core functionality. The benefit of Salesforce is that it's also accessible via an app on your phone and your tablet. So you're never away from your database. You haven't got any excuse not to log things really, unless you haven't got those things on you. It's customizable. As Simon mentioned, you can start to tailor the language, you can build new fields, you can build out what you need to track your reporting requirements for programs, for your finance, your fundraising, your marketing. It's there to kind of build as you need. In terms of scalability, Salesforce offers the 10 free user licenses, which are pretty much focused, I think, on charities at the moment. And so beyond that, you also get discounted licenses, and they range from anything from £12 per year to about £450 per year, depending on the level of access and somebody needs to that system. So, you know, they're pretty affordable, and you just really need to look at what access your different team members and volunteers need for the system. And you pay per user license, which means if somebody leaves an organization, you can deactivate that person from that user license and reuse that user license for somebody else. So if you've got 10 user licenses, you might have 20 staff that start to use those over a period of time, because you might activate and reactivate different people. So you can expand as you need. And also, as I mentioned, there's over 3 million apps on the App Exchange which you can plug into your system. So you have a centralized database which pulls in data packs from different places or connects to different data software that you're using, rather than things being isolated. That really then adds and supports team coordination. So it's great that Simon mentioned Chatter, and they're using that. We find people replace Slack with Chatter. So when they start using Salesforce, they use Chatter instead of Slack, but also that then corresponds with task management, or they even install a project management app, which you know, coordinates things much more as a team. So again, rather than using different project management apps or different tools like Slack or Facebook work, you can sort of collate everything within Salesforce, and you've got one system you sort of use. And the final point is around maintenance. So what 95% of our customers, I would say, are self-sufficient, and that we are training them to become Salesforce administrators, and they become, you know, their Salesforce administrator long term. So Simon's a really great example of that, and you know, this is very familiar with all of our clients. So we've trained fundraising managers, program managers, volunteer managers to become Salesforce administrators. Myself, when I started out, you know, I was running a social enterprise, and I trained myself up to understand how Salesforce worked, and so I could configure it, you know, myself, and to build it out for managing all of our program delivery of the work we were doing at the time with young people. So you own and manage your CRM database. It is yours, and you can configure it. So I think that just sums up really all the key points that Simon's put across. The way that we can help you as an organisation, Simon's very complimentary obviously about working with us, which is great. Thank you so much for that. I think, you know, we want to help a non-profit lay the foundations of growing and managing where they are currently now, but also if they scale. So we do advocate Salesforce as being affordable, scalable and accessible for non-profits. We can support that in 3 key ways. One, we have a small charity discount package, which is where a small charity will pay for 6 days of support, but then they will get a minimum sort of a free 6-day package alongside that. So basically they get 12 days of support for the price of 6. The reason we can do that is through our Salesforce Supermums program, which is where we're training mums who are returning back to work as Salesforce administrators. And as part of their 6-month training package, they provide 6 days of free support to a non-profit working alongside our team. So they don't work with you directly, and we don't just put them in and say, right, get on with it. The 6 days that you pay for is our consultancy time to make sure we design and develop the database in the way that is best practice, and then the mum supports us to build that system for you. So it's been really great and able to do that, and we've been able to give charities now £150,000 worth of free in-kind support since we started the initiative just over a year ago. If you want to take it on board yourself to kind of get your hands stuck in, we do offer support contracts, which is where we can support your organisation in a bit more of a lean way. But we do affordable contracts that range from £200 a month, sort of as a retainer, where you can access support and call us up to say, well, how do we do this and how do we do that? We'd say that's a good sort of maintenance support beyond the initial implementation. So we definitely can offer that. And the other key area that again draws from our Supermums concept is that we've now been placing our Supermums who we've trained and are brilliantly trained, and I've taken on a couple of our Supermums ourselves into our team, is you might want an internal part-time administrator. So if you are looking to hire somebody who can support you 2 or 3 days a week, you might want to consider one of our trained Supermums. They have brilliant backgrounds, whether it's from a fundraising background, marketing background, project management background. They come with a whole amazing skill set from their previous career where they've been, but now they've had the latest training and work experience in Salesforce. So there are different ways that you can consider rolling out Salesforce for you, and this is what offers our suite of services now that you can see here in front of you. So you can get in touch with us, obviously reach out to Simon if you want to, as well as reach out to me if we can support you. We have, I believe, some other questions on here. So Gareth, you've asked, what does the 6-day cost include? So our day rates are $775. So it's 6 days at $775, which is, I believe, $4,650 plus VAT for our 6-day implementation package. And with those happen over 3 months implementation. Our next cohort of Supermum small charity discount projects would start in the middle of July, early August, and then go through until October. So that's our next round. Okay, any other questions before we finish off? Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks, Simon, so much for your insight.
No problem.
Supermum program. I think it's been really interesting, and you know, do reach out to either of us. We're always keen to share our journey and share our enthusiasm for Salesforce, I think, of where we're at. And yeah, good luck with it all. What we'll do is send a recording of the video out so you can share. I think, as Simon mentioned, convincing trustees and board members can be part of the the puzzle sometimes. So send them this link, send them the link to the webinar, let them hear Simon's story and what they've been through, and that's the best way that you can sort of I think get people on board, is they hear it from other people. So please do share the recording. We'll also have it up on YouTube, so it will be publicly available that way. Reach out to us if you want to reach out to us. We're happy to provide more of a demo and support that as well. We didn't get a chance really to look at the system too much today, but you can sign up for a free trial on the salesforce.org website, so you can download the system and see it for yourself. We're happy to do webinars virtually for people, and of course you can watch the video again. So thanks very much for joining today. It's been great to have you on board. Happy Small Charities Week again, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.